neglect this part of productivity, you will never fully be consistent with your goals, stick to your plan, stick to the things that you want to reach, because you are missing this one thing. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm doing to combat this so that we can become the most productive version of ourselves. Welcome to Waves Unleashed, and I'm about to unleash some waves on you. Some days you're not going to be able to tick everything off, but I have a solution for this, which is my last point in this video. No pun intended, because I'm pointing while saying points. Okay, you can see what the title of this video says. If you can't see, then read it quickly, because we're going to go into this. So as I like to do in all my videos, I'll give you a quick background about how this has been impacting me and what I've done to improve this area of my productivity, because it's relevant to you. Let me just quickly tell you, I used to be lazy. I used to waste my time. I used to literally not be a very productive person. I would put things off, like, oh, I've got time. That's how I used to be, okay? In the past 3-4 years, I've completely changed my personality. So in 2020, I got sick, and it was kind of a wake-up call for me. I feel like it made me realize that I don't want to waste my life just being lazy, being unproductive, complaining, putting my problems on something else or blaming things. I just want to be a productive person who takes action. So I have become a very productive person. I plan things out, I make lists, but I noticed that I started to put a lot of pressure on myself, and I feel like I went too far the other way. Now, it's very important to have self-discipline. We need self-discipline, but if you go too far the other way, you are now pushing yourself from a place of pressure and force and lack. I like to talk about this a lot on my channel. If you're thinking that you can't have something, you're going to do things from a place of, oh, I can't have it, so that's lack mentality. And when you're working from lack mentality, you are telling the universe that you cannot have something. A lot of people don't realize that this is also a lack mentality. When you have so much pressure on yourself to be productive consistently, constantly, and you don't give yourself any time to rest, because you are telling yourself that unless I go constantly, I will never be successful. We want to work hard. That's what we're all about on this channel. But at the same time, you still want to be able to have balance. If you don't have balance in your life, you're saying that unless I am this one extreme thing, this is the other end of the spectrum, right? You go from being a lazy person, that's the other end of the extreme side. You're lazy, you're wasting your time, you neglect yourself. That's extreme. But now if you go to the other end where you're very productive, which is great, but now you're productive to the point of burning yourself out and you don't give yourself rest, that is also extreme. And that's also lack mentality, because you're saying, I cannot rest. I cannot just be a human for a second and breathe and rest and recuperate and recover, which will actually ultimately lead you to be more productive. It's not realistic, and it's coming from a lack mentality. So we want to completely alleviate our lack mentality. We want to live in the moment while still working towards the future. That's the main goal, right? You want to be able to be happy with where you are now while working towards the future, because how are you going to stay consistent if you hate where you are now? You're not going to want to do the things that you're doing right now if you're not consistent with it. And the only way you're going to be consistent is if it's sustainable, and it's not sustainable if you burn yourself out. So take away the lack mentality. I've realized that I have been pushing myself so hard to the point of being productive consistently. If I don't tick everything off on my list, I feel like a failure. And I literally had to really sit back recently, and that's why I wanted to make this video, because I think it's very important. I had a conversation with my boyfriend yesterday, and he said, Leo, you want to work for yourself, right? I want to be my own boss. But if I was working for someone else and they were my boss and they were treating me the way that I'm treating myself, I wouldn't want to work there. So you want to make being your own boss, hitting your own goals, even if you don't want to be your own boss in the sense of working for yourself, but you want to hit a goal in the gym, for example, you need to kind of be your own boss in terms of delegating your time. When are you going to the gym? When are you getting up? When are you hitting these goals? When are you doing the things that you said you're going to do? But if you were your boss in that situation, or your personal trainer, would you talk to yourself like, oh, if you missed your workout today, you're a failure? No, you'd say, okay, well, maybe I'm making my workout too hard. It's unsustainable on top of my schedule. Maybe I need to make it less time. Maybe I need to fit it into my day better. Or maybe on some days I genuinely might be unwell and I can't do the workout, so I need to give myself grace. So that's what you need to do. You need to be more compassionate towards yourself so that you can reach your goals in a more sustainable way. So that's what we're doing over here. And that's when I realized recently, I was like, I'm actually pushing myself too far, and it's not sustainable. I'm literally laying in bed like, oh, you didn't hit all your goals, you didn't tick everything off. But that's not realistic. Some days you're not going to be able to tick everything off. But I have a solution for this, which is my last point in this video, of how we can still be productive on the days where we cannot tick everything off and still feel like we have, made progress towards our goals. Stay tuned for the last point that I'm going to make in this video. No pun intended, because I'm pointing while saying points. So that was my first point, in the sense that, you know, it's too far. You've gone too far the other way now. You don't want to be too lazy, but you don't want to be too disciplined. So this leads me to my point about self-love and self-discipline. Everyone knows about the self-love movement. It's been going on for years. It's all spoken about in social media. And when it came out, everyone's like, oh, self-love, you need to love yourself. And I remember when I started to get into my productivity movement, especially when I started to really hustle, pushing myself to be a more productive person, making lists, all this stuff. I remember questioning this on the phone to my friend one day, and I said, everyone says self-love, but we need to also value self-discipline just the same amount. And now I feel like from that same mindset, I have taken self-discipline and I've kind of made it above self-love, in a sense. Look at the way I've been speaking to myself recently. That's not the way we want to be speaking to ourselves. Oh, you didn't do your goals, so you're a failure. No. You did your best. That's the most important thing. Some days your 35% is your 100%, because that's all you had to give. So I completely contradicted myself, because I said self-discipline should be just as important as self-love, but now self-discipline's gone over self-love. But in the other way, you might say, oh, self-love, you're giving yourself so much self-love, being compassionate with yourself, saying, oh no, it's all right, I need to rest, and then you're not giving yourself enough self-discipline, telling yourself, no, come on, we can do this. Let's structure our day. Let's write down goals. Let's write down lists. Let's get things done. So it needs to be balanced. So this is my point. It has to be equally as important. If you notice that one is becoming over the other, you need to check yourself and you need to say, okay, I'm noticing that I'm prioritizing my self-love way more than my self-discipline right now, which obviously there are flows in our life where we need to cater to one more than the other. For example, you might be trying to hit a deadline and it's really important. So obviously you need to have self-discipline, but you need to also be gracious with yourself in the moment. If one is a little bit more, we can just about be like, okay, well, this can't stay like this too long, but for now it can be like this. But if it's something where you're noticing consistently you're just like this or you're like that with one or the other, self-love, self-discipline, that's not the way we want to be. We want to try and create balance in our life. It's about checking, what area can I improve on? Right now, I know I've not been giving myself enough self-love. I've been doing a lot of self-discipline habits. I'm now getting angry at myself if I'm not hitting all my tasks in one day, even though I hit loads of tasks. And my boyfriend said, why don't you just rest? But I just said, I can't. I actually can't. Like, I feel guilty, and you should not feel guilty for resting. That's not the life that you want. You should never ever feel guilty for rest. If you start to feel guilty for rest, unless it's rest where you've just been resting for so long and you're not doing anything, there is a sense of guilt that comes with that, because now basically you know you can be working harder. But if it's that you know you're trying your best, you know you're doing your best, but you feel guilty because you can't fit everything in, maybe you just need a backup plan. Which leads me to my last point, which I told you guys is going to be very, very good. Okay, so the last point is create a backup plan and a backup list. So for example, you might say, okay, I want to go to the gym 5 days a week and I want to do strength training and I want them to be very, very hard workouts and really hit my goals and get some gains in the gym and really make progress. That might be all well and good. You wake up for like 3 days and you go to the gym and you feel great, and then on the 4th day you get ill. What are you going to do then? You're going to tell yourself, oh no, I need to force myself to go to the gym because I need to stick to my plan. If I don't stick to my plan, I'm a failure. And then oh no, then I'm just going to fall off, all this and that. You're going to get anxiety, especially if you're a perfectionist, which is something that we can fall into when we try to be a productive person. When we mean the best for ourselves, you mean so well for yourself by doing all these plans and goals and lists, and it already shows you care about yourself, but you're too perfectionist about it. You put too much on your plate. Whereas if you just said to yourself, okay, if I feel ill one day or if I don't feel my best that day, I'll just do a home workout. That's fine. Even if it's a 10-minute workout, that's plan B. A plan B menu. So it's like you have a general plan, what you're going to do that day, but if something happens, you have a backup plan, and that can be something that you can fall back on when, say, something is not going the way you want it to, when life gets in the way, when you get stressed. This can go for anything. You could be like, okay, I want to work on my side hustle for an hour a day, but what if you don't have time? What if you don't have time? What if you get home from work and you're like, oh, I'm really tired today, but I said I do an hour, and then you try to push yourself, and then you're burnt out, and then you procrastinate, and then you end up not getting it done, and then you feel lazy and like a failure. What if you just say, okay, on days where I feel like that, I'm just going to do 10 minutes working on my side hustle. I said to myself, I want to read an hour a day. Then it got to a point where I just couldn't do that. So then I said 10 minutes a day, and that seemed more realistic for me. And then I actually realized I was doing 10 minutes a day way more than 1 hour a day. So that's actually become a daily habit of mine. Journaling, for example, people always say, oh, I want to journal every single day. I want to do this. I want to get to know myself. But it can be really hard when you sit there and you say, I need to write all these pages, or what do I write about? I told myself, just write 1 page a day. Sometimes just start small, and then some days I write many pages a day. So it's just about having a backup plan that's more easy on yourself, so that you can still be consistent and know, okay, today's a backup day. I only have 45% today, and I'm gonna give 45%, so that's 100%. And at the end of the day, you're gonna lay in bed and be like, oh wow, like I did something. I didn't just do nothing just because I didn't feel well. I did something. I went for a walk instead of did my workout, and that was my backup plan. So just think of things that you can swap out for days when you don't feel your best. And I just want to say, focus on longevity. The main thing with anything productive is that it's sustainable and that you can stick to it. If you can't stick to it, there's no point. My mum recently said to me, oh, I want to do this morning routine, and it was wake up, meditate, affirmations. It was all this stuff like in 1 hour of the day. And I said, Mum, why don't you just start with one thing first and then go from there? And it turned out that she couldn't do it with her schedule. It was too much. You have to figure out what works for you. But if she said to herself, I can't do that, but I'm just going to do 1 page of journaling, I'm just going to do 3 affirmations in the morning, because that's my backup plan for the days when I can't do my whole schedule, she would feel a lot more like she's, you know, doing something, making progress, rather than if you just say to yourself, oh, that's too much on my plate, I can't do any of it. So have a backup plan. So just be gracious with yourself, celebrate your small wins, set realistic goals, sustainable goals, focus on longevity, and be compassionate with yourself. And if you like this type of content, because I post videos every single week on how to become a better version of yourself. I used to be lazy and now I'm wavy. Welcome to Waves Unleashed, and I've just unleashed some waves on you.